Hi, welcome to another episode of Firm Foundations Podcast with your hosts CJ and Tony. Today we're going into chapter 38, which, just like the previous chapter, came out of nowhere. We were going down the generations of the lineages of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, and all of a sudden we find ourselves dealing with Joseph. Now all of a sudden we're finding ourselves engrossed with Judah's, and I think that's a pretty adequate description. We are engrossed with Judah's
shenanigans.
Yeah. But as you remember, what they did regarding Joseph, the hurt that they put his brothers, put their father through by pulling the stunt that they did, eventually, pretty quickly actually, leads Judah to leave his family, leave where they were living, and go out. He went east and self-exiled himself. And now we're going to pick up from there. But this chapter it's going to serve to achieve a few different things. But the biggest thing that's like right in our face is that it's continuing to build on that tension between the brothers. Is it going to be okay? So we've put Reuben and the other firstborn, the first three born sons of Simeon, of Jacob aside now, and the tension is continuing to build between Joseph and Judah, and the reader is kept in this limbo, actually kind of like a car that keeps lurching and starts and stops with fits, and how is this tension going to resolve? We're not going to be given the answer for another 600 years, really. But who's going to carry on the family legacy? Who's going to fulfill or be the instrument through which the spiritual mandate of the family is going to be realized? That tension keeps on building. Another part of that tension is not just who's a better brother, who's more gifted, but also who's more righteous. And everything is going to point us towards Joseph. But then in the middle of Joseph's story, again later on, we're going to find Judah is completely transformed. He's a changed man, and we're going to say, oh, is it him? And we're going to say that because of how this chapter ends also, with the birth of Judah's sons through Tamar. And then we're going to be left hanging with those guys because they're never going to be mentioned again other than in some other important figures' genealogies. It's like they're a throwaway line, but they're not. We're going to see another phrase, especially in the Hebrew, come into focus again, and we're going to be like, oh, it's going to be interesting, both disgusting and interesting. So
yeah, some surprises here and there. You mentioned about Judah leaving. I don't remember hearing anything about him coming back, but he's back
Yeah.
later on. I mean, the next couple chapters we'll see, but for some reason he leaves. Like you said, he may have felt not not really disconnected from his father, but just out of the guilt of what's happened. And the reason for him leaving may not have been what he was thinking of, but it was what God was planning all along.
Yeah.
Just the way that some of these things happens, it's not happenstance.
No.
There is a purpose for everything that happens in each person's life here.
I forgot about that, but now that you said that, there is another reason why he had to go. If we're thinking about in Kabbalistic terms, and I'm not a Kabbalah master. I don't know Kabbalah enough to really speak on it. I wish I did, but the idea is that sparks of goodness, sparks of divinity are scattered across the world. And it's the mission of Israel to collect those and bring them back, reunify them. And the rabbis say that one of those sparks was in Canaan, lodged in Tamar. And it was Israel's job through Judah to gather that spark and bring it home.
Why didn't the other brothers leave? They were just as guilty. I'm just curious. Well, maybe they did. It's just not recorded because it was nothing worthwhile talking about. But it's just kind of odd that
one could argue that there's differing levels of sensitivity to spiritual realities, and we see that in the comments, which don't want to get into, but people love to be judgmental and stuff, and it's human nature, and they were human beings too. So
yeah, that was a good point when we were talking earlier. These guys are humans. They're not anybody special as far as they were chosen by God. That's the, if you want to call it, the speciality of them. But they're not immune to anything. Nothing. They're just as guilty as we are in the natural things of life. We're given choices and temptations, and they chose things just like we choose. There was nothing. There's rarely anybody in here that is a basic good guy, so to speak, not sinning at all.
Yeah.
Throughout the Bible, and it just goes to show that they're no different than we are, other than the fact that God has a chosen people to do a certain job. And I know we haven't gotten started yet, but it just boggles my mind that if he hadn't chose Israel or the Jews, if you want to call it, and chose Italians or chose Chinese or chose, they would be hated like the Jewish people are hated. It boggles my mind why people hate the Jews so much. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me.
My father once asked me that. he doesn't get it.
And if you have a comment about this, I'd really love to hear it. Why you think Jews are hated so much, and it, It's like the Muslims. Why not hate the Muslims more than the Jews? Because now I'm not saying all Muslims. You have the radicals that will kill a person if they don't uh, go in. What's it called?
Convert.
Convert. Yes, thank you. You know, or other religions. Why not hate them as much or more?
You know, I have two answers to that. One is in the natural ish. One is this in the spiritual ish. They're really actually both a kind of a mixture of both. But think about it. All these nations already existed, and then a brand new nation is born, and it's unlike any other nation. It goes out of its way to remind everybody of how different it is. It's as if, and literally
Are you talking
is.
arrogance?
Well, not
Going out of the way?
No, I'm talking about like, okay, so since Egyptians shave their heads, we're gonna make sure that we grow at least this part of our hair out, depending on how observant you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna grow this part out, at least leave the sideburns, maybe grow a full beard, just to be different from the Egyptians, because that's what our God said.
Mm-hmm.
Or you know everybody just wears regular clothes, whatever clothes. They don't care about mixing different types of materials. We're not going to play that game. We're going to wear pure silk, pure linen, pure wool, not mixtured. Oh, and we're going to tie these tassels at the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and everybody eats pork, but we're not gonna. Everybody eats shellfish. We're not gonna. Everybody eats any kind of bird. We're not gonna. We're gonna choose specific birds. And it's not that they chose it, right? But they make a point of stressing the differences. Not because of pride, but because that is who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, well, whatever. But it's as if, and it really is that it is, God cut, and this is probably why Jesus used that analogy later. You cut a piece of a garment off. Now there's a gaping hole. That gaping hole drives people nuts. Like, if something's torn, we're not going to wear it. We might put a patch on it
Mm-hmm.
if we're artsy, cutesy back in the day because we didn't have money to get something else. But there's that gaping hole that is abhorrent to the rest of the cloth. The cloth wants to be made whole, but they can't. So what are you going to do? You're going to hate that hole. But then there's the other part of it where, you're rejected by God because you rejected God first. And God went and built a brand new nation that goes through every experience that every other nation goes through. It has the same relationship with God that every other nation before they were created had with God. On again, off again relationship. But unlike every other nation, God says, I am not going to divorce you. I let all the other nations go under the tutelage of other angelic beings that they called gods. And I said, okay, but you, I am not willing to give up. You are my portion. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. nations have no fury like those that are scorned by God. And that's probably why America and Israel get along so well, is because just like God brought Israel out of nowhere, God brought America out of nowhere. Just like Israel walked through the waters, God brought America through the waters. Just like Israel worshiped God, the founders of the American nation worshiped God. Perhaps it's because we're cut from the same cloth. We get along. We love one another. That's why Iran calls America Big Satan and Israel Little Satan. Oh.
Well, all right. Now that we've got that rabbit hole filled in,
Yay.
We'll get started here. Chapter 38. It came to pass at that time that Judah departed from his brothers and visited a certain Adullamite whose name was Hira. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite who was named Shua, and he married her and went into her. She conceived and bore a son, and he called his name She conceived again and bore a son, and called his name Onan. And she conceived yet again and bore a son, and called his name Shelah. He was at Chezib, when he bore him. Then Judah took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord killed him. No indication of why, or purpose, but it must have been really bad for him to be wiped out without any mentioning of his life whatsoever.
Yeah.
And how old they were, it doesn't say that either.
Well, I mean, we know it's from the time Joseph went down to Egypt till Jacob and the family joins him is 22 years. So is really young when he dies. He's not even 22 years old.
How much trouble can a person get in that God says, I don't think so?
Well, it's interesting. Okay, so when we get to verse 9, 10, we're going to find out why Onan also died. And the rabbis are going to say, they're going to lump them together. And they're going to say, perhaps didn't want to, perhaps Tamar was so beautiful that he didn't want her to lose her girlish figure through pregnancy. And, he didn't want to have kids. Through her, at least. Wanted to maintain her physique for his pleasure. And God found that extremely offensive.
Wow. That's okay. That seems kind of far-fetched to I mean, that's a reason.
It's not like it hasn't been done before. Like we know people that are like that.
Yes.
So it is if we just rely on the text, it is a stretch, but given human nature, it's conceivable.
It's possible. It's like we were just discussing that they're the same just as we are.
Yeah.
In fact, I knew a girl. Well, I know her, but she got pregnant, but she wanted to have C-section with all her kids for certain reasons. So I it's just one of those things. But
yeah.
Okay. I was just curious on that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Verse 8, and Judah said to Onan, go into your brother's wife and marry her, and raise up an heir to your brother.
What?
That's kind of, that's like, for me, that's like the Rachel and Leah giving their maidservants
Yeah.
to have sons through them. Yeah.
It's to our modern ears, it's very weird.
Uh-huh.
I mean, this is not a practice amongst Jews today either. Like they've stopped practicing that. But in those days, it was actually a pretty much in the ancient Near East. It was a universal practice. It later got codified as part of the Mosaic law in Deuteronomy 25, around verse 5. But to us, it's so weird.
Yeah.
But
Hey, that was their job back then, I guess.
the idea was that so somebody would carry your brother's name, that your brother's name would not be forgotten, that his inheritance wouldn't become null and void. It's a nice sentiment. It's almost like giving your brother a new life, a new purchase on life through, dedicating a son to him and his wife, but his widow. But
this kind of reminds me of that show. It was on several years ago. Handmaid's Tale, is it?
Never seen it.
That was kind of weird because it was kind of the same practice. It was a cult type thing, and the wives of these businessmen couldn't have children, or whatever, so they had their maids fill in for them, sort of like a Lady Rebecca type thing. It's really weird. I never knew what happened at the end. Okay. But Onan knew that the heir would not be his, and it came to pass when he went in to his brother's wife that he emitted on the ground, lest he should give an heir to his brother. Big time jealousy. Almost an arrogance, selfishness.
Selfishness.
That,
That's beautiful.
Why should I do this? I don't know if maybe he didn't like his brother. Why should I do this for him? When I want my own kids.
Which he would have had anyways.
Yeah.
It's only the firstborn. And most of the time, actually, once that first son is born, they no longer have that relation. So it's not like he would have had his own wife.
Mhm.
He would have had his own children. He could have had a blessed life. But he disrespected God and man, his own brother. I mean, how are you going to be so, in that context, in that culture, how are you going to be so disrespectful of your dead brother?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't blame him in modern thought, but
back then, right here, verse 10, and the thing which he did displeased the Lord, therefore he killed him also. You got to follow the rules, so to speak. I know they're not rules, but like you said, it was just the firstborn son. I'm assuming, not if it was a daughter, it wouldn't have counted. So either he didn't like his older brother, or he just didn't like the fact of giving something that he probably felt that belonged to him in the first place. It's like, so I don't think I'm going to finish.
Yeah.
And then he finds out, unfortunately, that he displeased God and he paid the price.
Yeah. And I wrestle with this. I wrestle with it because, like, what? Why does God care about this so much?
Mm-hmm.
Why? what is so horrible about this? That because we know God doesn't like multiple marriages. God hates divorce, and God says, "Be faithful to your first wife, to the wife of your youth." We're told that leaders of the church cannot have multiple wives, and by that we infer that, hey, we're all supposed to emulate that, so none of us should have multiple wives. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, this is all just difficult.
Well, was it I think it was Paul said that an elder should be the husband of but one wife.
Yeah, and that's what I was referring to
Okay.
later on. Like, leader of the church should not have more than one wife, and ergo ipso facto columbo oreo, none of us should have more than one wives and more than one wife, and we should be faithful. So how is sleeping with your brother's widow?
Mm-hmm.
I guess because it's a ritual, it's not considered immoral or cheating,
Well, it's not immoral
unfaithfulness. But
if because if a husband or wife dies, then that frees them from any uh, law, so they can get married again.
yeah,
So he marries this woman. He must have married her, and then decided.
but that's well where I was going.
I'm sorry.
I get that, right? I get that part. But what I don't get is only the firstborn. You're really only marrying for one son, right? It's not a like, yeah, you're going to take care of her. You're going to take care of the child.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure they grow up and carry on your brother's legacy. But you're not expected to have any more kids with her after that. You're expected to have your own wife and have your own kids. So, by default you have two wives now.
Mm-hmm.
And that just, like, I get that he said it and I defer to his judgment, but it blows my mind. I can't wrap my pea little brain around it.
Okay, well, then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter in law, remain a widow in your father's house till my son Shelah is grown. For he said, lest he also die like his brothers. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. So apparently he must be much younger uh, than his other brothers. And we don't know the distance. And we don't know how old the first two were. I mean, they could have been just a couple years apart. And this other one might have been 5 years from.
Yeah, we don't know the age difference, or
But
the age spread, but
there's enough distance where he has to wait
yeah.
for him to grow to what is considered. Do you know the considered age of a male being allowed to marry?
Um, he would have to be a pubescent. That's for sure. Um, but I don't know the exact age. Um, the interesting thing is with this is that in the surrounding cultures, it didn't have to be just a brother. It could have been another member of the family,
Okay.
an uncle, a nephew,
Mm-hmm.
a father. I wonder if that has anything to do with where we're going with this.
Okay.
But the rabbis argue back and forth about why Judah thought like that, why he wanted to send her away.
Mm-hmm.
And some say, he must have known what kind of kids they were and what they were doing. And I'm sitting here thinking, how does he know? How is he supposed to know that they were pulling out? That their pullout game was strong? And if you know what I mean, shame on you, just like shame on me. But others say, well, maybe he just thought that for some odd reason, she was the kind of woman that her husbands just die for whatever reason. And, there was a taboo around black widows, women that were serial widowers or widows. And maybe that's why he didn't fulfill the levirate marriage with her.
There's a lot of scenarios and rabbit holes we can go on
Yeah.
with this whole deal of what's happened with these circumstances.
Yeah.
But he sends her off to her father's house, I guess. So he knows that she's protected before his son is of age.
Yeah, it puts her in kind of a limbo where she can't marry anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's under lock and key. Her father is now responsible with making sure she doesn't run around and that she's taken care of. It's like he's just casting off all responsibility.
Yeah, that kind of. I mean, if anything, you would think that he would want to keep her there to keep an eye on her.
And that's why that idea that, oh, maybe she's just the kind of woman where her husband's, or maybe anybody that's not her immediate blood kin,
mm-hmm.
just drop dead. And that's possibly where that idea comes from, because he sends her away instead of taking care of her like a good father-in-law should.
All right. Right. Here we are. Verse 12. Now in the process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. And Judah was comforted and went up to his sheep shearers at Timnah, he and his friend Hira, the Adulamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, look, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep. So she took off her widow's garments, covered herself with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place which was on the way to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given to him as a wife. So Judah's wife is dead. So he's free from, he can go back and marry again.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say for what I've read and how it looks, that she's being a little bit conniving. And I don't know if she's interested in him because she's dressed like we're going to see as a harlot, purposely goes out and does this on purpose. And apparently she's a little ticked off because Shayla's of age. Why didn't he send her or have her brought back? Or why didn't he send Shayla to go marry her? He's of age. You've ripped me off, seems like, so to speak. And now she's dressing up to manipulate, set up.
I mean, not only did he not fulfill the levirate duties, but he's preventing his youngest son from preventing it.
Because he's afraid that he might die?
And like you said, she's being cunning. But one could see it as she's determined to carry on to be part of Israel's legacy and become uh, one of the carriers of the promise.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, this family has lived in this area for generations now. Because even though he ran away, he only ran 9 miles away. Where Judah lived was only 9 miles away from where his kin lives.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that far away. And people knew Abraham was a prophet. They knew Isaac was a prophet. They know who Jacob is. So it's conceivable that she was determined to be part of that blessing. And so she's determined. Or she might be like most people, hey, this is my right.
Mm-hmm.
I want it. Either way.
One way or another. Okay.
Yeah.
When Judah saw her, he thought she was a harlot because she had covered her face. Then he...
Sorry. Since we talked about Muslims and Islam in the opening, this, covering the face as a harlot or wearing a burqa because you're a Muslim woman, because your prophet said so. Because in his culture also, hookers covered their faces. What does that say about how the prophet saw women? The mad prophet, Muhammad. Perhaps he was calling all women lot lizards, streetwalkers, ladies of the night, harlots. Just wanted to put that out there.
So, yeah.
Food for thought.
Then he turned to her, by the way, and said, "Please let me come into you." For he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. So she said, "What will you give me that you may come into me?" And he said, "I will send a young goat from the flock." So she said, "Will you give me a pledge till you send it?" And he said, "What pledge shall I give you?" She said, "Your signet and cord and your staff that is in your hand." Then he gave them to her, and he went into her, and she conceived by him. I know his mind is thinking he's going to get these back because he's going to send her a goat. I got to laugh about that one. I'll give you a goat to have sex with you. So that's it's not a diamond ring or a bracelet or something. It's a goat. I guess it was worth something back then.
Yeah.
And he gives a definite identifying symbol to him, which is his signet ring. Those are normally, well, I know he gives him 3 things.
Yeah.
He gives her 3 things, but the signet ring, that is a personal identifying factor.
All 3 of them are.
Yeah, but I think that's the most significant. You get the staff, you get the cord. But doesn't the ring have a certain symbol of some type that identifies with that person?
Yeah, all 3 of them do.
Well, to me, a staff is a staff. You just go to Walmart and pick up a staff.
But see,
so I'm not familiar with with those items. So
okay, so yeah, you're absolutely right. The signet ring would have his name on it at least.
Family crest.
Something. But it wasn't necessarily a ring. It can be a ring. It's a signet. Doesn't mean it was a ring necessarily. Some translations say ring. Some translations just say signet. Whatever. But yes, it would be the thing that he would use to sign documents with. When they bring the wet clay tablet out with terms of whatever, or let's say he was buying something and on consignment, and He wasn't paying anything up front. Press the ring. Everybody knows who that is. But all three are very specific to each person.
Okay.
Because and she's asking for them because you can lose your signet. But the word translated as your where is it? Cord. The word translated as cord is not very precise. Some translate it as cord, some translate it as bracelet, some translate it as cloak, some translate it as cord. But it's most likely a piece that, like, you would wear it around your neck that the signet would go in.
Mm-hmm.
So they were matching. Okay. So you might lose your signet, but you're not going to lose your cord that it goes in. So if you have two of them, oh, okay, so he definitely gave it to you. And then the staff, well, everybody would design their staff. It wasn't just a piece of wood, just like, I found it in the woods, now I'm hiking with it. They would take time. They would carve it and
to make it personal.
They would make it personal.
Okay.
And anybody that knew him, they would know, oh, that's his personal staff. So now you have, it's a game of probabilities she's playing, actually pretty smart. Okay, you can lose one, but you're not going to lose all three. Mm-hmm. If you got all three, he gave them to you. Like, there's no denying it.
Alrighty. Verse 19. So she arose and went away and laid aside her veil and put on the garments of her widowhood. Conniving. And Judah sent the young goat by the hand of his friend the Adulamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he did not find her. Then he asked the men of that place, saying, "Where is the harlot who was openly by the roadside?" And they said, "There was no harlot in this place." So he returned to Judah and said, "I cannot find her." Also the men of the place said, "There was no harlot in this place." Then Judah said, "Let her take them for herself, lest we be shamed. For I sent this young goat, and you have not found her." Big mistake. Go ahead.
I was just going to quip, apparently they didn't have the FBI or the Mossad back then. They couldn't find. So what you going to do? Just let it go. Remind me of my mother one time. I was supposed to be at work one day, but I called in because a friend of mine had lost their mother. So I went to, visit them and wish condolences in person. And my mother didn't know where I was. I was 15. She called everywhere. She hunted me down. She found me. Apparently it takes a mama to find people, and the invention of telephones after a while. But
I guess, well, she's not there. She's not there.
Yeah.
But odd that she was there, and then she's not there. From movies or whatever, hookers have their territory.
Yeah.
And they don't leave that territory, and they claim it. This is my street, this is my corner, whatever. So you would thought he had caught on that something, this woman's not there anymore. What do you mean she's not there anymore? And then especially that she was never known there.
Yeah.
So there had to be, something wrong with this picture.
Yep.
Yeah, especially if she was really wanting that goat. Sorry.
Oh Lord. But
Okay.
if in the meanwhile, if this is giving you any food for thought, if it's somehow our banter and our rabbit holes and our um I don't know what you would call it is a blessing in any way, um I would hope that you would like, subscribe, share, comment. If you don't like it, feel free to comment. um we read it. I I find it very challenging to stay in the spirit when I'm reading some comments. So you're giving me a good exercise with your negative comments. I appreciate that. Um, but if you are benefiting and you think others would benefit, uh, please show YouTube through your engagement, um, so that they'll push this in front of other people. Because yeah, like there's episodes like today where we're digging into some gnarly stuff, and you know it's not the most pleasant conversation, but it has some spiritual meaning behind it. If nothing else, the questions that it brings up and allows us to wrestle with questions that we have ourselves. Like when I say, I understand that that he said it, that he did it, but I don't get it. I can't wrap my head around it. These are real things. People are regularly deconstructing their faith because of their inability to wrestle with the text and find answers, and so they're walking away from the Lord. And we could do the same thing, but instead we find the courage to ask these hard, weird, disgusting questions and engage with it. And if you tell YouTube by liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, YouTube will put this in front of more people, and hopefully we can help others that are struggling with these questions, and struggling with their faith and struggling with finding meaning. Um, Honestly, our goal is to A, preach the gospel, B, encourage the believers, encourage the body of Christ, and help people um, wrestle, and hopefully make some people laugh. You know,
Yeah. We're not making light of the situation. We just add a little humor because some of the stuff is kind of
it's traumatic.
yeah. And humor helps kind of break that up.
Yeah,
Uh, and but we do take all of this seriously, and we do try to give you the you know the answers to your questions to the best of our knowledge.
yeah,
And we always get some knowledge from y'all when you do respond with other ideas.
yeah,
Uh, so we're not saying that, as we've always said, we're not always right about everything, but we do the best we can, and we do our best to allow the Holy Spirit to speak through us.
yeah,
Uh, and we're the ones that add the humor, not him,
yeah.
probably.
I mean,
Who
some of it's
knows?
him.
Yeah,
Like when we read Elijah,
yeah,
but and to be honest and raw a little bit, like by now y'all know that we're both veterans, and you know Tony's Air Force veteran, so they're a little more refined, a little more high quality, and I'm a Marine veteran, so we're uh, in uh, again, Nancy Reagan's words, the filthiest people. um, and it's hard as a Marine to sometimes veterans tend to deal with traumatic stuff in very particular ways, including dark humor and
Mm-hmm.
inappropriate humor. And it's hard as a believer to balance that out and keep that under control. But we do our best. And, you know,
Oh yeah, I mean, we could have went way beyond what
Mm.
we've been saying, but it's not about us.
no. We're just humans trying to work through it the way anybody else is, and trying to build community while we're doing it.
Okay. Verse 24, and it came to pass about 3 months after that Judah was told, saying, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has played the harlot. Furthermore, she is with child by harlotry. So Judah said, bring her out and let her be burned. When she was brought out, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, by the man to whom these belong, I am with child. And she said, please determine whose these are, the signet and cord and staff. So Judah acknowledged them and said, she has been more righteous than I, because I did not give her to Shalem my son, and he never knew her again. Boom! Busted. Hey, how you doing? You know, if they went, well, of course the law was not made out yet. If it had been, then he would have been burned with her or stoned. And somehow he gets around this.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's not his wife. It's already been, she's already been labeled as a harlot. And he's already labeled her also as a harlot to be burned. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the woman being caught in adultery. And Jesus said, you know, the Pharisees said she's supposed to be stoned. Where's the ban?
Yeah.
You know?
It's very reminiscent of that with with a couple differences though, because as I alluded to earlier, in her culture, it wasn't just the son or a fellow or a brother that had to do the levirate marriage. If they didn't, somebody else in the family could and should. So he was always, if he wasn't going to give his other son, he was always supposed to bring the first child and the first son, so that they would be named after his sons. And so in that sense, one can say, oh, look, grace is at work, because now he's saying, yeah, I'm the father. These are this child, or children, as we'll see, are the result of a levirate responsibility. Can't say marriage because they weren't married, but levirate responsibility. So, in the grand scheme of things, we didn't adhere to the letter of the law, but we adhered to the spirit of the law unwillingly, and therefore, grace.
Oh yeah, I bet.
A lot of grace.
A lot of grace. I mean, it's obviously that he's done the we'll say dirty deed of sleeping with a supposed harlot, and she is also guilty of scheming this whole thing, because if she wanted to if she wanted to have a child, and she knew the law of, as you had said, brother, nephew, father, then why didn't she just say, hey, your sons aren't willing to, then I think that you should do it?
Well, after two sons die without children, then she's under pressure. everybody in the neighboring vicinity would look at her and say, "You're cursed. You're the problem. Two husbands just don't die because they don't know. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what might have ticked off God and caused him to maybe do something. They're just looking at her because that's what they see. People judge by sight, but God judges by the heart. And yeah, we can point the finger to her and say, "Oh, she was a conniving hooker. She played the role of a hooker, so we can call her a hooker." But one could also turn around and say, "Oh, she was just fighting for her rightful blessing, for her rightful place in God's plan for Israel." Whether, and see, Scripture doesn't give us her entire side of the story.
Right.
It doesn't tell us what's going through her heart other than what she did. So, yeah, we could be like the villagers around her and judge her. But the fact that she will be one of the ancestors of the Messiah kind of tells me that that's not the case. The fact that God's protection is on her, that she wasn't stoned or burned, even so. Like, yeah, sure, Judah could say, "Yeah, they're my children," but she dressed up as a harlot. He could have pled ignorance to the ways of God and claimed that he thought she was a temple prostitute that was wandering around and did the dirty deed. Nobody would have bat an eye.
Right.
So he feels some shame. Why is he feeling shame? Why is God putting that shame in his heart? Well, but he has ways of justifying it. And it would have been fine by everybody. His dad would have been like, "Come here, I'm gonna pick your switch. I'm gonna whack you." But as far as the people amongst he lived, he's guiltless. He might have even been performing a righteous form of worship in their culture. But God orchestrates it so that everything is all right. And she becomes the great grandmother of the Messiah. And in that, it seems like her heart was in the right place with God. And she was doing the only thing that she was able to do at the time. Like, this is the kind of thing where it's depicted in art in every form nowadays as a form of entertainment. But it's one of the questions that we wrestle with, and some wrestle with out of experience, which is a horrifying thing. But what do you do when you are denied justice? And are you going to allow yourself to be bullied and pushed around and deprived of justice, or are you going to fight for it and get your hands dirty? Like, I don't want to ever be heard as saying ends justify the means, because it doesn't. But some things fall into a gray zone. And if you're really pure of heart, it might disgust you like it disgusts us. And we're not, I'm not that pure of heart. Not going to make any false representation about my mental, spiritual, emotional position in any of this. But um, what do you do when you're denied justice? It's like when during the BLM riots and everything, the country was burning down, and this might drive people away. This might really infuriate some people, but my position was, if people are experiencing this, and I've seen it a little bit, where I know people that I went to school with or whatever, a white girl driving home with her husband who happened to be black, and a cop stops him and addresses the woman who's in the passenger seat, saying, "Ma'am, are you okay?" Like, as if the only reason a white woman would be in a car with a black man is if she was under duress.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like this, when stuff like this happens, what do? We passed all the laws, we guaranteed all the equality, and yet here we are facing inequality and trouble. What do we do? And when people were burning down and rioting, and yeah, I was mad at the people doing that, but differently than most people. Most people saw it, oh, they're anarchists, oh, they're communists, oh, they want to burn the country down. They, maybe, and yes, evidence of that is very clear, but not everybody that was at those riots were part of that ideology. Many people were actual victims or perceived victims, or however you want to word it. And my problem was with them burning down their own neighborhoods, burning down their own communities. The communities that they were saying that they were fighting for is what they were burning down. People's businesses, livelihoods, homes, memories. And I've said it openly on Facebook. I'm going to say it here too. I have no problem with people rioting and attacking the police. Like, I'm going to defend the police. Don't get me wrong. My grandfather was a police on my father's side. My wife's grandfather was a police. We love the cops. We love the thin blue line. We defend them. Don't get me wrong. But, if you have a problem with the system, you fight the system, not your neighbors, is where I was going with. Burn down a police station. I get that. Attack a military base. I get that.
That'd be a mistake.
It would be a horrendous mistake. Don't get me wrong. But I understand that. What I don't understand, what I don't support is, I don't support any of it, but I understand it. What I don't understand is people attacking other innocent people that have nothing to do with it. And it's a completely different scenario from what's going on here. But the heart of it is the same. What do you do when you're denied justice? You went through the entire court process. You went all the way to the Supreme Court. What do? You have no other option. What do you do? And
So she took matters into her own hands.
some people might feel that need, and I would understand that.
Well, I'm just saying that's sort of what she did then, because she was not being treated properly.
Yeah.
So she took matters into her own hands.
Yeah, and that's why I think the Lord was gracious to her and Judah. Gracious to Judah on her account. not because of his righteousness, but because of his plan for them and for her sake. Um, yeah, I hope y'all understand my heart in this, and understand the argument I'm making, not not for violence, but for the heart that's broken, that is just searching for justice. Yeah, what they did was wrong in recent years, and what she did was, there's no other way to put it, but disgusting. But perhaps we can have empathy and have grace and show grace. Um, I don't know. Correct me.
But no, no, that's all good. Maybe that's why people like the A Team so much, because they helped out the
Help up the little man.
yeah
Or
the
maybe that's why they love. I don't know. There's a bunch of movies.
all these shows and movies that are revenge for the good guy.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll finish this out. Verse 27. Now it came to pass at the time for giving birth that, behold, twins were in her womb. And so it was, when she was giving birth, that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took a scarlet thread and bound it on his hand, saying, this one came out first. Then it happened, as he drew back his hand, that his brother came out unexpectedly. And she said, how did you break through? This breach be upon you. Therefore his name was called Perez. Afterward his brother came out, who had the scarlet thread on his hand, and his name was Zerah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit. Putting his hand out, being proclaimed the firstborn because he put his hand out. And then it ended up that the other one comes out first. Almost like yanking his back up. Let me show you how to do this.
Yeah.
I'll show you a breakthrough, buddy.
Yeah. But again, after this, it goes back to Joseph. It just abruptly ends with these two brothers being born. And one of them's name is Breacher, the one who breaks through, Perez. And we will never hear about them again, ever, in the record, unless it's part of a genealogy. Perez had this son by whoever, and his son had whoever by whoever, all the way down to Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus Christ. But that's it. Zerah, likewise, is only mentioned a few more times in the genealogies. So what is the point? Other than we've went through a bunch of them, but of little points here, but other than to create tension, prolong the tension with regards to the family's mission, the mission of Israel as a nation, as it will become later on.
Well, we had to see how Judah is established as with the lineage of Christ, the line of Judah, which we'll see that in chapter 48 or 49, when Jacob starts talking about blessing his sons. We had to know where his offspring were going uh,
Yeah.
because without these two, well, mainly without the firstborn, Perez, then there wouldn't have been any line unless it went through Zerah. Uh,
Yeah.
so there had to be a connection
Yeah. I
in
mean,
there.
yeah, it's masterful storytelling. There's a reason why every good author in the history of ever, um, since um, let's just say that the Greek tragedies, the Greek stories never held a candle to them. Every good author follows the biblical narration style to some degree. Um, it's masterful storytelling, and it's setting Joseph and Judah up in contrast. First, in last chapter, we saw Joseph receiving prophetic dreams and visions, and then he's sold into slavery. Now we see Judah being distraught from putting his father through what he put him through and running away and diving deep. This is his rock bottom. This is literally his rock bottom. And we know, we've been trained through modern art and whatever to know that after a rock bottom, there's a breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the son that is named the breakthrough, but this this theme of breaking through is going to stay with us, linger with us throughout the rest of Scripture. Um, Micah 2, verses 12 and 13, I think it was. If y'all want to go back and read them, we're running out of time. I'm not going to do that here, but it talks about someone breaking through and the children of Israel being led out by their king with the Lord at the head of the procession. And, from Isaiah and other prophets, we know that the Lord and the king are one, that the anointed king, the Messiah, is the Lord himself, not merely a regular man. Later on, when Jesus is asked a question, he responds and then asks them back, uh, what did you why did you go out to the wilderness? What did you go to see? Was it men dressed in fine linen? Was it a reed blowing in the wind? No, but the kingdom of God suffers violence, and violent men take it by force. And that's a very interesting thing he says in relation to John the Baptist. They're talking about John the Baptist there, and that reminds us of a parable that the one of the Chabad rabbis uh, used to tell around Rosh Hashanah, uh, the Feast of Trumpets. And again, I'm not going to go into that. We'll get to that when we get to that. But what I'm saying is, look it up if you want to. But the idea is the breakthrough. Breakthrough is important. The one who breaks through is important, and it's God's will that we break through. Whatever the obstacle is that we're facing in our life, with regards to our relationship with the Lord. And that's, in my opinion, kind of why these children were born that way. And one of them is literally named the breakthrough, or the breacher.
Mm-hmm.
It's tying it. That is the one of the chords that runs through the entire arc of Scripture. Um, have you met him? Uh, has he helped you break through? Is he leading you through your breakthrough into the presence of the King, who is in the field amongst his people, wanting to love on him? Uh, so, food for thought. Any last words?
No, I think I'm good with it. A lot of odd things in that one little chapter.
Yeah.
And how things get twisted around, but as always, God leads it to a logical conclusion, if I may say logical, because a lot of times what he does is not logical to us, but his thoughts, our thoughts are not his thoughts, and our ways are not his ways.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah. So next week we're going to find ourselves in Genesis chapter 39, and we're going to be one more time jarringly brought back to Egypt, to Joseph, and we're going to see what he's going through, and we're going to see why this particular event in Judah's life was crucial, that it came before Joseph's story. They're going to be in clear contrast. And once again, we're going to go, oh, see, it must be Joseph. But we'll see. Till then, God bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you and give you peace.